the Picture Communication System Training. It is not PECS, it is PCS, Picture Communication System. And we are going to learn how to teach kids to communicate without a voice.
We need that. We need that thing.
I can't. So teaching communication to students with autism and or intellectual disabilities, that's what we use PCS for. We teach students to use a voice even if they don't have one. It's based on ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, so it's used frequently throughout ABA therapy and throughout ABA-based classrooms and as well as speech therapy. It's teaching kids how to communicate correctly, and it can be taught using multiple modalities. And we do have adjustments for blind and deaf students or non-ambulatory students or students with limited hand mobility. Research on PCS, so Picture Communication System Exchanges. The best practice is to wait until the student can master phases 1 to 4, before ever transitioning to a device, such as an iPad or a GoTalk. And some students can skip phases if they already have a skill down. Some students are obviously higher functioning, some are lower functioning. We know our students best, so we have to kind of gauge where they are, make an educated guess. For like mod severe programs, we typically are always starting in phase 1, and we have kids who are stuck in phase 1 or 2, and that is okay. This does not inhibit vocal speech. It actually shows the opposite. Research shows that it actually creates more opportunities for children who never spoke or are nonverbal. It's actually showing that those nonverbal kids are actually starting to speak. And then an increase in speech has been demonstrated. Oops, I just said that. But again, not all of them. So not all nonverbal kids will become speakers, but we do see a large increase in that. There are 6 phases, and the first phase is to pick up, reach, and release.
Okay, so like Ashley said, there is 6 phases in PECS. We're going to talk about the first page, and we call this pick up, reach, and release. So the first phase of picture communication has several things that you have to do with it. You're going to look at a preference assessment. You're going to prepare all your materials. You're going to arrange your environment. You're going to entice. You're going to wait for initiation, open hand, pick up, reach, and release. So this is when you're going to exchange a reinforcer back and forth. So the first thing you need to do is you need to select pictures that students like, so they want to be highly motivating for the kiddo. These could be a variety of items from different categories, so it could be food, toys, music, TV, etc. You want to use items that are age appropriate as possible. We're going to create the picture icons for the preferred items that you chose, and you can always use a preference assessment to find high value preferred items. So you could either observe what the kiddo likes within the class. You can give them 2 high values in front of them and get them to pick which one they like, or you can use reinforcement surveys with the teacher or the parent. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to set up your environment. You're going to have all your reinforcers and their matching icons prepped ahead of time. You're going to sit across from the student, place icon in front of the student, and have reinforcer in hand. In some cases, you can have a prompter that stands behind and helps the kiddo. Okay, so we have our environment set up. We have our picture icon in front of our student with our matching reinforcer. We're first going to entice. We're going to entice the student silently. So you're going to hold the reinforcement item in front of them. Ideally, the kiddo will pick up the icon, but she's going to act as our physical prompter. So I'm enticing silently. She's going to hand over hand. When she reaches, I'm going to open my hand and then give her the reinforcer. The timing of the open hand should only occur after the reach. So we don't want to reach and have her put the icon in as a prompt. You want her to reach with the icon and then you open your hand. Some students will require less prompting, so this can be done with only one person or with the physical prompter. All prompts must be faded. So if you have to verbally entice them because you only have one person, so squishy toy, you're going to want to fade that. And then also if you have a physical prompt of the open hand, you're going to want to fade that as well. One big thing about the physical prompter is they should not speak to the student. They just have to stand behind them. The student should only be speaking with the communication partner. A big part of phase 1 is the reinforcement must be delivered within half a second. Once the student hands you the icon, you open your hand and grab it. You have to give the reinforcer within a half a second. While the student is playing with the item or eating the item that you gave them, you're going to place the icon back in front of them. This should happen every 30 seconds. So here is an example of phase 1.
Rubik's Cube. My turn.
So as you can see, she has the physical prompter to direct her to the icon.
Rubik's Cube.
As she's playing, she's going to place the icon in front of her. And then after 30 seconds, she gets it back.
Rubik's Cube. Squishy ball. My turn. Squishy ball. My turn. Squishy ball. My turn. Squishy ball. My turn.
We're done.
Squishy ball.
So once you can fade the physical prompter and the student can pick up the icon itself, then you're going to move on to the next phase. Okay, so what happens if the student errors? So what happens if the student drops the icon on the floor? You just pick it up and then place it in front of the student and start the trial over again. If the student reaches for the reinforcer and set up the picture, again, take that as an initiation and prompt them to pick up the icon with their hand, what you just saw the physical prompter do. Like Ashley said in the beginning, you can also have adaptations for blind students. So you can use a variety of different items for pictures. If you have students who are blind, you can use something that is larger and 3D for tactile support. You utilize the same process as what we just discussed. However, you have to allow the student to feel each of the icons before handing it to you. Allow the student to hold the item for 10 seconds to determine if they want the item or not. Again, you can also use iPads, GoTalks, and Big Macs, or multi-button devices if they need that adaptation. This is just an example of the pecs you can use for a student that is blind. As you can see, they're 3D and they can feel like the spoon, the fork, the toothbrush. Okay, so this is a fidelity check. Once you are able to do all this, you're able to move on to phase 1. So first you need to arrange your environment. You're going to entice the student with no verbal prompting. You're going to do it silently. If the time open hand is appropriate, you reinforce within half a second. There's no insistence on speech, and the student is able to give you the icon. That's when you can move on to phase 2. Okay, so some quick questions. Do you think a child needs to discriminate in phase 1? The answer is no. Yeah, exactly. The answer is no. We're just teaching them that if they give a communication partner an icon, then they're going to be given a reinforcer. How do you entice the child?
Silently.
Exactly, you're going to do it silently. If you have to do it verbally because you're only one person, then you're going to want to fade that prompt. When do you present the open hand?
Half a second.
Yep, you do it within a half a second, but you have to wait till the student reaches for you and then you open your hand. How long do you think you have to provide the reinforcement?
30 seconds.
Yep, approximately about 30 seconds. Good job, guys. Good listening. So when do you move to phase 2? So when the student's able to pick up, reach, and release, and you're consistently doing it without prompting. You can move on to Phase 2 in the same day. Some kids pick it up really quick. Some kids might take much longer. You can move back and forth between phase 1 and 2. If they get phase 1 really quickly, move to phase 2, and then they're having difficulty, don't worry, just move back to phase 1.
So phase 2, this is distance and persistence. The key thing to this phase is it's used in every phase. It's all the time. I will annoyingly tell you, distance and persistence. It will get tedious, but it is true. So this phase we're learning, we're teaching the student how to come to you or come to the communication book and then to you. So we are introducing that. So we're teaching them to travel to the communication partner, then we're going to teach them to travel to the book and then the communication partner. It's a big, beautiful, long process triangle. Like I said, a lot of my students do not get to this point. I am on phase 1. I have a student in 4th grade and I have been doing phase 1 and phase 2 with him since he was 4. It's just, but he gets it. Now he works for tissues. And he has a tissue icon, and he will do it for the tissue. But he doesn't necessarily go to the book. But again, we're very persistent with it. We keep trying. He's gotten a little better this year. Some huge growth. It's okay. He's still communicating. He's letting us know he wants to play with his tissue. I am beyond proud of him for that. We are systematically increasing the distance of the communication partner in the book. So eventually you're going to move it to the front office. I mean, not really, but we'll start right in front of each other. We're going to move the book to the table, then we're going to move the book to the outside table, or we're going to move the book to a different room. We're going to teach them to carry the book with them. That's really important because this is their voice. Same thing with an iPad. No one else is supposed to touch it. That is not for other students to play with or touch, and it should be with them at all times. At school as well.
Yeah, so the teachers shouldn't hide it from them. I know that you probably run into that sometimes, but they should not hide it from them. You just have to say like not available when they ask you for a preferred item in like an inopportune time.
And then this phase, like I said before, is forever. And then it's reintroduced in other phases all the time because when you're building upon it, you're building the vocabulary, building the book, building the icons, you still want to make sure and check for understanding that they know to go get their book. Without saying, go get your book. You get to that point eventually, but not while we're teaching PECs. That's what this whole thing is. So for the prompting, again, if you're alone, you can use the gestural and verbal prompts. The biggest thing with the research, I was telling a group back there, is that you have to fade those prompts immediately because it becomes a habit, a behavior, not negative behavior, but it becomes a behavior. They will not initiate, and eventually we want to teach initiation. With a prompter, we're going to use the physical prompts to guide the student to the book and the communication partner when needed. So not to the icon, but just like a gentle, like, okay, here's your book, after they get the icon. If the student errs, so if they're not going to the book, if they're not going to the icon, because we're going to move the icon farther away from them too, even if it's just a foot and it's not in front of them. Because again, after phase 1, we've already taught them. They've learned. They know what the icon means. It's tangible. They now know, I want that squishy ball. I'm going to give you this picture. It really is amazing to see. Some of the videos we saw before and after through the pyramid was like, it was mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing. And these kids were in ABA and speech 5 days a week, 40 hours. So we do understand that at times this can seem a little unrealistic for a school setting. We understand that. We do this as well. But like it's important to remember that any speech is good speech. I tell my students that all the time. Any speech is good speech, even if it's not to their goal. Get something, say something, work on social skills, work when you're going to the door. Same with this, 2 to 3 minutes a day. 3 to 4 minutes a day, up it. 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 1 day a week, anytime you can. They were asking about if you should do one-to-one setting. I do a lot. All of my SDC is push-in. It is all push-in. It's in their environment though, so I even if it's in a group setting, I'm solely focusing on that one kid I'm working with for that 5 minutes at that specific time because that's their attention span. Or I'm taking them out into the pod. We do what we can. So if the student errs, not going to the book, not understanding it, we're going to backstep. So this is where we're just introducing the backstep error correction procedure. There's 2. We have the backstep error correction procedure, and then we will eventually talk about the 4-step error correction procedure. In phase 2, we're using backstep. It is what it says. You literally go right back to where you started. So the prompter should guide them back to the book, retrieve the picture using the physical prompting, that prompter or you at this point, because you're up and moving around, you're moving things. And then you retrieve the picture using the physical prompting. We go in the wrong direction, that's okay. The prompter should gently guide them back to the communication partner or use a gestural prompt. Like we can point towards the prompter, or say you're in a room, like in a push-in setting, and they're going to different people, or a kid comes up to you, you're gonna point, no, that's not me, you wanna go to this person, you wanna go to your speech teacher, speech therapist. So the timing of the open hand, same as phase 1, still half a second, but again, not too soon. We don't wanna open the hand immediately, we wanna make sure they're coming to us. And as soon as you see that picture coming or that book, open your hand, because that means they're understanding. Only after student has initiated by reaching for the picture, again, open hand should be faded out over time to teach the persistence aspect. So we are going to take away that half second. We're just not going to open our hand. We're going to have them come to us. There's other tricks to it too, like you're standing backwards, like that could be like they have to come and get your attention by tapping you. Those are future skills. Again, I'm not quite there with some of my kids, but we tried. We know it's half a second, okay. So the persistence, we're gaining that attention. Again, like the back is turned. We're gonna get rid of all the subtle prompting. So we're not gonna look at them. We're not gonna be right there with them, focused on them. We're gonna kind of look away. If they want that squishy ball, they're gonna they want that squishy ball. And some kids don't have that ability, so we're teaching them to let us know that they want that squishy ball. So we want them to come get our attention. And then again, we never want to say, get your book, yet. Because we're still teaching what the book means, what the icons mean. So basically when we're at this point and we're saying we're introducing the book, we're just the one. So we're teaching what the book means, that this is where your communication words and icons and vocabulary is going to be sitting. So that squishy ball is the only thing on the front of that book. So we're teaching them to go to the book, understand their words are there, and we want them to take it off and come to us.
My name is Aideen, and I'm going to explain PECS Phase 2, Distance and Persistence. In Phase 2, the PECS user takes the picture out of their book and hands it to their communication partner. For this phase, the PECS user has to be motivated to communicate. They have to travel from their communication book to the communication partner and get their attention. You may still need a physical prompter at this stage.
That's all it was. So she went up and she tapped on the communication partner. The prompter realized she didn't even have the icon, so she physically guided her back to the book, showed her where the book was, she grabbed the picture and then tapped the communication partner on the back to have her turn around. That is very advanced. We will not always be there immediately. Again, we have to teach that this icon is going to be on that book and this is your book. Some kids get it like that, some kids take years. Okay, so what if the student errs? Again, we're going to use that back step. We're going to go backwards. We're going to move closer to the student. We're going to place the picture on the back of the book, and we're going to start over if we need to. Move back to phase 1 if they're not picking it up with the reaching and releasing. So that's again why that timing is so important to open your hand. So if they're not getting it, we're going to go back to phase 1. We're going to back step that far, teach the reach, teach the release, and then we're going to start introducing the book again. It could be within the same 5 minutes, it could be within days. If the student comes to the prompter instead of the communication partner, we're going to indirectly redirect. And this is where you can say, like, especially if you're just alone or if they're far away or you're increasing distance, this is where you can say, okay, I'm not the person. You can speak to them, give the redirection, let them know you need to go to Miss Ashley instead. We want the student to learn to bring the picture to us when we have the item. So we're still enticing, we have the item, I have the squishy ball. That's why it's highly motivating. That's why they're gonna come to you. So we still have indirect prompts. So the fidelity check, are we enticing appropriately? We're just showing them we have it. We're not saying, oh, look what I have. We're not really using any verbal prompts at this point. Are we gradually increasing distance from the learner? If they can do that, if they can go between the distance, between the communication partner and like another room, we've gained more just distance. If they can carry the book, I mean, if they understand that it's theirs and they understand it's the communication book, if we're starting to eliminate prompts, and if we are starting to travel from room to room, so again, that distance is huge, then we can say we have completed phase 2. Takes a lot to get done. Okay, so does the child need to discriminate in phase 2? No, there will be no discrimination. We're still using that one icon because now we're teaching and introducing the book, and distance between the communication partner. When do we use an open hand in this phase? Yeah, when you don't have a helper. Or as soon as they come to you with the icon, you can open it. As soon as you see them and they tap you on the shoulder, you can open your hand. So it's not as soon as they show you they start reaching to give this icon to you. It's just as soon as they come to you and you see you have it, you would open your hand. Okay, so we're gonna practice phase 2. We're gonna still use that same motivational requested preferred item. Did I take this from someone? Oh, you guys. Sorry. So we still want nothing on there, just the toys. So now we're introducing the book. And so when you do an IEP and you put the PECS book in the IEP, it goes in assistive technology. It's low tech. So it's technically an AAC device, but it's low tech.
Yeah. Have you guys ever did the special factors form? I mean, yeah, you have. You don't have any questions? So you know how you say that they would not benefit for assistive technology. In this case, they would benefit from low tech assistive technology. When you get the book, it's going to come completely blank. Like there'll be no Velcro on it. So you're just going to cut it and then add it. Just to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and you can organize it how you want, but we'll get there.
Do you guys have any other questions? Oh, I did have another question. So someone asked me if a student has a one-to-one aide, should they use the one-to-one aide as a physical prompter and then the speech pathologist as the communication partner? I said switch off because you're going to want to have the kid communicate with more than one person, because I think we all have that kid where they see you, they know you're going to give them the Skittle, so they run to you. So you want them to communicate with everyone so they're not reliant on you to give them a preferred item all the time.
So again, we can have adaptations for non-ambulatory students. We can use things that like make noise to gain the attention of the staff. They can use a bell. They can use the Big Mac button. The staff will go to the student to allow them to make their request, and students should have their book at all times. Again, so obviously there's gray areas of prompting and giving the book and giving the icon. Of course, students who cannot get to it themselves, if they ring a bell, they need something. You're going to them, they're prompting to you. Hi, I need water. Here's the icon. When to move to the next phase. So when the student can communicate with 3 or more people, like Laura was saying, we want to change that up. We don't want them to become reliant on that one person to communicate with. We want this to be in all modalities of their life. We want kids to be 18 years old and going to McDonald's and ordering a McFlurry, even if they're nonverbal. We want them to do that. And that's what it is.
Yeah, and this is where you're going to have to ask the aides to come in, the teachers to come in, the parents to come in. Like, it's just not a one and all approach. It's not going to work if just a speech pathologist works on it for a half an hour once a week.
Yeah, this is a very big group effort. We want them to be able to travel at least 6 feet to retrieve the photo. That's that distance and persistence. We want them to travel 6 feet to the communication partner, the triangle, from the book to the partner, back to the book, etc. This phase is very important to teach initiation and persistence. So unless they can do these, we are not moving to phase 3. If they can't do these, you've collected your data, you're feeling confident, we'll move to phase 3, which...
Oh, wait, I also have a question. So someone also asked if you still only use one icon during this phase on the front. So you can use one icon, but if you notice the kiddo is like getting bored or he just doesn't want to do it, then that's when you're going to switch up the icon to a newly highly preferred reinforcer.
And then so for implementation, like that data collection I was talking about, we want at least 40 opportunities per day. Of course, we are not going to get that with our 15 minutes of a mod severe kid of speech therapy in a group session. We are going to teach and facilitate that to the staff. Like for me, mod severe kids, they're in speech therapy all day in my mind. Those kids are learning functional communication, they're learning the big text, they're learning how to use the restroom, how to wash their hands. I mean, to me, it's that ABA approach, it's the speech therapy approach. So 40 opportunities is a lot easier. It's not as scary of a number as you think. Think of all the activities you can do to incorporate this. You can go to lunch. They can request their favorite snack. They can request their favorite art activity. You could do it during washing their hands. I have kids who are obsessed with the water. They like to splash it up like Michael Jordan, or is that LeBron James? I'm not sure. With the powder. Your husband would know. Or shopping or purchasing activities. Think of how you can sabotage the environment. We love that as SLPs. We manipulate the environment all the time. We set them up for disaster to succeed. I go to lunch with my SDC Mod Severe kids all the time. I'm with them all the time in lunch, and I take their milk. I know they love the milk. I take it. I'm sorry, I do. They have a little meltdown, then they ask me for it. They sign, they ask for more, they tell me I want, I bring a PEX book. All the time I go to lunch. People around me think I'm mean. I'm like, no, trust me, this is better for them in the end. We manipulate the environment. Phase 3, so this is where we are introducing picture discrimination. That is why we definitely want them to be able to master phase 2. If they're not going to the book, if they're not understanding the token as a way to communicate, we are never going to be able to get them to discriminate. And teaching discrimination is definitely more difficult sometimes. Some kids, they're fine. So again, there's two parts to phase 3, A and B. So if they're a very persistent communicator, or they're nagging you, or they really want what they want, they're using their book so good, they're coming to you telling you they want water all the time, or you're changing the motivating item all the time, they're ready. They're ready to discriminate, and we're going to choose. The goal of this phase 3A is to choose the correct picture correlated to what the student wants from any or all pictures in the book. Again, we're starting phase 3, starting discrimination. We're going to do 2 pictures. The goal is to eventually have that book full of every and any opportunity. Some kids, it's overwhelming. Some kids, we can fill that entire book. You can add extra pages, and you would organize it according to individual students. So remember that young children learn how to communicate before they are able to say words. Like my 8-month-old son this morning woke up, he was sitting in his crib, he sat there for so long, we wanted to see how long he would go, and he sat there babbling and babbling and babbling, and he's putting his arms out, nobody came. What'd he do? He started to scream. Somebody came and picked him up. So he's communicating, I'm done, I'm ready, I told you I was awake, you didn't come, I'm gonna scream, now you came and got me. So that's what we've done. Phase 1, phase 2, we taught them to communicate. The student and the teacher, we're going to be sitting across from each other. So we're pausing on removing the book. We don't really want to worry about them going to get it. We're teaching discrimination. So we've moved on to phase 3. Distance and persistence will be included again. But we want several pictures. We want to do that preferred activity analysis.
The preference assessment.
The preference assessment, yeah. So we want to make sure we know our kids. We know our kids. We know what they're going to want. We bring multiple things. You can dump a bucket in front of them. What do they want? If you don't know the kid. You can meet the kid for the first time. You have a massive amount of toys. Whatever they gravitate to, that's what we're going to use. Pictures of irrelevant or non-preferred items. We call that a distractor item or non-preferred, whatever you prefer. We did paper clips, so you all have a paper clip.
We
in
had
that
paper
bag.
clips and pencils. Important to know your kids because some kids might like paper clips.
Some kids love
might,
pencils.
Yes, some kids like tissues. So you really got to do that preference assessment on what they like and do not like.
I have a kid who loves erasers. He eats them very quickly. Mm-hmm. He finds pencils in like Antarctica. I'm like, it's just he swallows that immediately.
Also, it doesn't have to be an item for a PEX. Like an icon, they can like jump. They can twirl. I had a kid that worked to open and close the door, just as long as the PEX on the book.
So we want corresponding items for all of the pictures. Again, that tangibleness. And then this phase, we have no verbal prompting. So we're beyond the prompting phase. They've nailed it. They don't need the hand over hand. They don't need verbal prompts. They don't need redirection to an icon. They're ready. So the new skill is to choose the correct picture. So the instant the student touches the correct picture, we reinforce. Meaning, sorry, let me back step. So we have a squish ball and we have a paper clip. We're gonna have a tray of 2 items, the preferred and the non-preferred. We are using non-preferred and preferred because it's easier for us to discriminate whether or not they're learning, that they're asking for what they actually want. If you're doing 2 preferred items, it's like they probably want both. So how are you going to teach that? A lot of this phase is us learning them to learn if they are communicating correctly, if they can handle more icons. Because I have, I walk into some of my classrooms and they started PECs and they have 50 icons on the front, inside, and they're like, they've got it. They know what they want. I'm like, we don't know that. We skipped phase 3. What is happening? So we want to check for their understanding. So we want them to choose the correct picture. So we're going to entice. Here's the paper clip and the squish ball. We're enticing. The second they reach for the icons, like the second, we do not want to wait for the student to hand over the picture. We're going to instantly reinforce. So if the student picks a distractor, we're going to wait. But if they pick the squish ball icon, we're going to immediately reinforce with verbal praise. So yeah. So we know that they want the squish ball, and I'm reaching for the picture. I get it, and you're going to instantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Immediately verbal praise. It's so awkward.
Sorry, yeah, that's like, okay, go again.
Okay,
so she reaches for the squish ball. And then I go, yeah.
I get to play for 30 seconds. If I reach for the paper clip, if I'm starting to reach for the paper clip, I'm not going to verbally praise. I pick it up. She gives me the paper clip.
And then what is the kid going to do?
He's not going to want it.
He's not going to want it. He's going to push it away. And then that's when we're going to get in the error correction.
Yep. So that's where we'll do the error correction. So we do introduce verbal praising here, and we'll get to this point, but if they keep reaching for the toy and not the picture, prompt their hand back to the picture, especially if you know the kid and you know they can do it. We're not going to backstep to phase 1. If they really aren't getting it, we're going to backstep. They're not ready for phase 3A. So if they just keep reaching for the toy with the icons in front of them, we have to backstep. If they're reaching for the icon, but it's the wrong icon, that means they're not discriminating. So we have to teach them how to discriminate. So we give them the distractor item. Sorry, I got lost. So this is where the 4-step error correction comes into play. So here's just a scenario. We're going to place 2 pictures on the book like we did. We entice the student selects the reinforcing picture and gives it to the communication partner. We instantly provide the verbal praise. Great job. That's right. Give the student the item. The student consumes play. We start rearranging the pictures. So we just move them on the book. We're just constantly checking for discrimination. Are they actually discriminating what these pictures mean? They error, they choose the non-preferred. We do the 4-step error correction. So this is where we're teaching the discrimination. I reached for the paperclip icon. She gives me the paperclip. I don't want it. I push it away. We give it back. What we do is we model. So we touch the correct picture.
The correct picture? Yeah.
We touch the correct picture. Then we hold an open hand.
And then
after we cover, so you can do, sorry. So we're showing the correct picture. Then we're going to practice. Yeah. We're going to cover up the wrong one, or whatever you want to do. I mean, don't take it off, but we're going to cover it up with an open hand. We want them to put it in our hand. Then, no verbal praise. We hold this up. We do not give it to them. We just show them, yep, that's right, without saying it. You got the squishy ball. Then we distract because we want to do something else because it's distracting. You're distracting them. So like you can flip the book, you can ask them to spin, you can say touch your nose, distract them, and then repeat. We're going to entice with both. I have the squishy ball and the paper clip. They reach for the paper clip icon again. You cover it up. They hand you the squishy toy icon. You keep doing that. You distract. You try to get them to do it and pick it again. And that 4-step error correction just keeps going until they get it.
So do the error correction with everyone right now. It's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everyone
practice the error.
Yeah. Everyone get their preferred and non-preferred out and put it on the front of their book. We'll do it all together just because it's kind of hard to understand when you're verbally saying it. Okay. So
And
you guys
you're
pick
enticing
that,
me. Yep.
And we're gonna.
And I'm like, ooh,
try to give
I
it to
obviously
you.
want the squishy
You're not gonna
ball.
want it. Sorry, the
This
paper
is candy,
clip.
but whatever.
You're not gonna
Give
want
this
it.
to
So
you,
what
you
we're gonna
need to
do
give it to me.
is
Yep. So I
we're
get to
gonna
play for
point
30
to the
seconds.
desired item because we know that you want
You
that.
say my turn, you
Don't
give it back.
say anything. Point
So
to
then I'm
it.
going again. We're
and go
checking
like
for
this.
understanding.
That's
I
gonna
go,
prompt
I
you
get
to
this,
grab
I
it.
give this to you. You
You're
give me
gonna
a
give it
pencil.
to me, and
I
I'm
go,
gonna say
no, I don't want
crayon.
So
I'm
what
not
you're
gonna
going to
give it
do
to you.
is
I'm going to
you're going to teach
flip
me
it.
which one I want. Yep.
Tell you to
So
touch
I
your
would
nose,
go like
distract
this,
you,
give it to
because I
you.
don't want you to just
hold
pick
up
the
the
icon
ball.
that I gave
Good.
you. So touch your nose, touch your head.
You show me.
Okay.
And then
I'm
you
gonna
put
say,
that back.
Paper clip,
Flip
crayon.
the book,
What
distract
do you want?
me.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, or like
you guys want to try it?
Like, touch your nose, tap your head, do a dance.
You can
Move
move
around.
Are we
Show me.
rearranging again, or we keep it at the same spot?
And then I give you
You can keep it at the same spot for one and then rearrange it.
But
you guys
if
wanna
I
try it
didn't
just
get
to
it, after he
pick-
distracted,
you guys can try it.
he tries it again. If I didn't get it and I hand him the pencil,
So hold your items up to entice.
you just keep covering it
So
up until I
paper
get
clip, crayon, you can talk during this.
it. Sorry.
I didn't do this.
So then you're gonna do the wrong one, yep. Okay, and then just give it to her. You're gonna probably push it away.
They'll grab them both.
Okay, so then you're gonna put it back on. So you're gonna go like that. So you're gonna point to the correct one without talking. Then you're gonna cover this one up to prompt her to pick the correct icon.
Yeah.
So that they're associating.
And then
For the
you're gonna
for the
say
teaching part of it too.
you're
Like,
gonna
just,
say
like,
crayon.
until they master
Don't give it to her.
Like if they're like
Put
they
it back.
master, you cover it. They
And
know
then
what
that's
they're
when
doing.
you're going to
and they're grabbing
flip
too.
the
It's
book.
like that's kind of just a behavior, you know. So that's more of like
And then start over.
But there's also
Does that make
you get
sense?
to it, but there's adaptations. You can like. Okay. Okay, so the 4-step error correction procedure will be used in phase 3A, 3B, and the rest of the time. We also will continue to use the back step. Of course, that's just naturally in our field. If we notice something wrong, they're not getting it, we take a step back. The 4-step error correction is definitely a little more in depth, but it works to teach that discrimination skill. Thanks. So snack time, this is just a good scenario of an ideal setting to practice this phase to teach the discrimination. Arrange the communication book with 2 pictures on it, so like Cheetos and a Brussels sprout. I like both, so 1 is highly reinforcing, 2 is completely non-preferred, and entice and wait for request. Entice with both items. So I made a mistake earlier when I said in a tray. That's for the next phase. I got them confused. So you just hold them both up. You've got the Cheetos and a bag of their weird cucumbers at lunch. I don't know, something. As soon as they reach for the correct picture, because the icons are on the book in front of them, as soon as they reach for that Cheetos, we begin to praise. Yep, that's right. We say nothing for the incorrect picture, and of course we give them the Brussels sprouts. Or if they get the Cheetos right, we give them the Cheetos. When they get if they hand you the Brussels sprout picture or icon and they're reaching for the Cheetos, we know they're not discriminating. So we have to teach it, and we do that by using the 4-step error correction procedure. So we would place them back on the book, both icons. We would cover up the Brussels with our hand open, get them to bring that icon of Cheetos to you, show them the Cheetos, kind of be like, yep, that's right. We do a distraction, so we would flip the book, touch your nose. Oh, look at Miss Lauren, she's in the lobby. Anything to distract them, and then we practice. So then we show them the 2 pictures, we start again, they hand you the Cheetos, yep, that's right, they get the Cheetos. They hand you the Brussels sprout again, you just keep doing that 4-step analysis. You're gonna just keep error correcting them to teach them, this is the icon you wanna give me. You see the different ones, practice, model, do it again. Preferred and non-preferred, oh, this is just a video to show us. We're gonna look for the phase, 3A, and we're also gonna look for the 4-step error correction.
Great, so this is the first part of phase 3, discrimination. We're gonna have some trials that don't go necessarily very well.
Where'd you find the file?
Do it on the computer.
Right, just touch your nose. Touch your head. Oh, I've got chocolate. Oh, first part of phase 3.
Sorry, I started over. Do you notice what do you pick up what she's doing wrong? She's talking, she's verbally enticing. We don't want to do that. No, not in this phase.
No?
No, because then we're discriminating them for them. So we're telling them, this is chocolate, this is a bear. We want them to know that it's chocolate and that this is a bear. So she's verbally telling them what it is. These are students, but this is a great learning example. We'll watch it again.
Discrimination, we're going to have some trials that don't go necessarily very well. Oh my God, some chocolate.
Kid doesn't want it. She covers it up.
Chocolate.
She pairs it.
Touch your nose.
Distraction. And then she's going to practice. She did it wrong. We model, practice, distract.
Jen, touch your eye. Touch your eye. Chocolate, and that's awesome. Look, yummy chocolate. Look, oh, you want, look, you want chocolate. Chocolate. Jen, touch your chocolate. Look. Chocolate.
So she's verbally telling her what it is, which is verbally discriminating for this student. So we don't want to do that in this phase, not quite yet. We will get to that point.
Would we have both items in the same location, or would we switch them up each trial?
You can switch them up because we all have that kid that will just go to the left and maybe your icon's there.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure.
So in between, you want to keep moving the icons around just to continue to check for discrimination, which is actually a key thing in one of these slides somewhere, so good call. Okay, so alternate strategies. So people were asking earlier, like, okay, you give the kid the paper clip, they want it. We all know they like to fidget. Some kids could care less. They're like, okay, yay, a pencil. So we want to do alternate strategies to try to get them to understand that that is a very non-preferred item. Some things we do are blank pictures, so literally like a square with Velcro on it. They reach for the nothing icon, you literally give them nothing. There's nothing more reinforcing than nothing. Which honestly, I like kind of like starting with that. It doesn't have to be an alternate strategy. Sometimes it's my first. We use a faded picture, so like it's a picture of a pencil, but it's faded, and we can gradually introduce more so they can barely see it. Then it turns into the paper clip, and then they're like, oh yeah, no, I don't want the paper clip. We can space the photos out on a table. We use larger photos, make distractor pictures small, then increase them. So like some kids will just reach for the biggest one. That's the one they see. We can use 3D objects with the picture attached to the container and use highly, highly, highly non-preferred items. Again, that's that preference assessment. So, no verbal prompts during phase 3. We're not telling them what they are. And we're not asking the question yet. We're still not saying, what do you want? That's really key. We're not saying, what do you want? We're not initiating this at all. We're still teaching initiation technically. And we are learning if they are understanding what they're asking for, the differentiation. Frequent reinforcer assessments use a variety of trainers and communication partners. We want structured training trials. This is where I would say, kind of definitely more isolate them a little, not in like a huge group. If it's push-in, take them to the pod. Because we're testing for that understanding just a little more in depth. Vary position of pictures on the book. So when you're realizing that they're understanding it, just make sure you're moving those icons because they could just, keep reaching for that left, or they could have cerebral palsy and they can only reach to the left, and anything like that. And then distance and persistence. We want to start moving the book, moving the icons, moving yourself as the communication partner up to 6 feet away, 40 trials. That phase 2 is always. So the fidelity check, if we're ready to move to phase 3B, are they enticing? Are you enticing silently with both items? Are we reinforcing as soon as the learner touches them? That's that social, like the verbal praise, the yep, great job. Are we using appropriate reinforcers? Are we using preferred versus non-preferred? And are we conducting the 4-step analysis? And the kids are getting it. And again, the 6 the 3 communication partners and the 40 trials were ready for phase 3. So the goal in phase 3 is to indicating the want between 2 preferred items, which is definitely a little trickier because we know they want both. Mary was saying that she has the kid who grabs both icons even if it's non-preferred. And I was saying maybe the blank one will work, maybe taking a step back, like back-stepping for that kid. And I said, we're SLPs, so sometimes we can fudge things. Like, I know we're trying to teach it, but at some point it's like you just keep grabbing both. It's kind of a behavior at that point. So you do what you can. I don't know what you want. You're not getting either. I don't bring in the verbal. It's okay. It is okay. There's a gray area. I don't know what you want. You keep giving me both. Let me know when you're ready to try again, and set them both back down. She said that he just keeps grabbing both and grabbing both. And I was like, maybe the blank one will work, or go down to 1. Okay, so the new skill is to take the item that corresponds with the picture that is exchanged. Show the student a tray. So this is where the tray comes in. 2 highly preferred items. We're going to show them the tray. This is where our expertise comes in too, of where we have to read a lot of nonverbal cues. We have to learn of the 2 that they want, which one they really want. So we're going to learn that through their eyes, through what they're reaching for. Hopefully they let us know that's not the one I actually wanted, but sometimes they don't care. Sometimes they're just reaching. So once the student gives a picture, we're going to hold the tray out and say something like, good, go ahead, take it, but don't name the item. Because if it's 2 preferred and we say, okay, go ahead, take and they hand us a squish ball item and we say, oh, good, take the squish ball. Their brain's going to be like, okay, I'm taking the squish ball, that's the one I want. They're not necessarily correlating that they discriminated that on their own. They're not necessarily discriminating that that's the one they wanted. They might not have wanted it. They might have wanted the Rubik's Cube. So we'll say, go ahead, take it. Praise the student as soon as he or she reaches for the correct item. That is where
You gotta be fast.
we have to be very
fast.
fast. So, I'm watching, I give her the icon for the squish toy and I'm reaching for the Rubik's Cube. She has to block me. So she gave me the squish toy, I'm reaching for the Rubik's Cube, she says no. Even though we know she probably wants the Rubik's Cube. That's where we see her going for it. We know she wants the Rubik's Cube. Oh, she gave me the squish toy. I know she doesn't want the squish toy because I see her in that 0.0016th of a second, we know that she doesn't want it. So we're going to block.
And this is why,
physically.
obviously, discrimination is so important in part 1.
Yeah, phase 3A, because
Yeah,
we have to make
A.
sure they can discriminate, or else we would never know what they want. I have a student I was telling them about who has all of his preferred items in the book. The teacher's like, oh my gosh, look, he tells us what he wants. He knows exactly what he wants. And he's putting down, he'll put down, he doesn't look at the book. He grabs any of them, he puts it on. So then he puts down snack. This kid does not eat at school. He doesn't really eat it. His snack is a picture of his puffs. We give him the puffs. He's throwing them. They're everywhere. He's so PO'd. He's so mad. He's like, I don't want these. Why do you keep giving this to me? He's not looking. He puts the puffs on the book. We give him the puffs. And she's like, look. And I'm like, he doesn't want the puffs. And we don't know what he wants because he can't discriminate between the things he wants. He is not ready for this phase. But again, I'm not in there all day. So we do what we can. We will then praise the student if they reach for the correct item. So they get the squishy token. I give her the squishy token. I'm reaching for the squishy token. She can tell I'm reaching for it.
Good job.
Good job. This squishy toy. This is where we can label it. Great job. And we let them play for 30 seconds. If the student reaches, block access and use the 4-step error correction. So you block the access, you put it back on the book, the icons. You know they're reaching for that Rubik's Cube. You know that's what they want. You cover the squish toy icon. So even though they want both, you have to be able to tell what they want. I have a lot of kids with eyes that don't really lock in, but you can tell by their reach. You can immediately tell by their reach, most of the time.
I mean, you'll know with most of your kids.
You'll know. And if they're not, if they can't, they wouldn't be at this phase, to be honest. They wouldn't even really be here. They wouldn't be at this point. So we're teaching the reach. So we're assuming what was reached for is what was wanted. If the error continues, consider if the student is actually ready and add pictures until mastery of 5. So They succeed immediately, they're getting it over and over again, they're giving you the squishy icon, they're getting the squishy toy every time, they're not getting upset, they're discriminating between preferred items after you've moved them around. It's been 9 out of 10 trials, 40 trials, whatever. We're gonna add another icon. Then we're gonna do the same thing. And you could do this 4-step error correction, just keep your icons close, cover up the both that you can tell that they don't want. And you just keep doing that until you get up to 5 pictures on the front of the book of all 5 are preferred items. Teach the reach. Again, so always assume what was reached for is what they wanted. Tips for knowing which preferred item they actually want: watch their eyes, track their hand. When we practice this, it'll make more sense. Okay, so let's try 3B. All right, so we're gonna do that at our tables with each other. We're gonna do 2 preferred item icons and 2 preferred items. Did we put 2? Yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 in
like
there.
the Play-Doh and the ball. Do we feel comfortable with preferred versus preferred? So sorry to cut off. And the 4-step error correction if they get it wrong.
Okay.
Do we feel good? Okay, so the goal of this phase is to discriminate between the picture of what they want and all the other picture symbols available. Because again, we're building the book. That's why we're building the understanding between multiple on the front page before we have them look inside of it. Determined through correspondence checks. Show both items, wait for the exchange, offer the desired toy to the student. And then we want to maintain frequent correspondence checks throughout this whole phase. So we basically want to just keep checking for understanding every icon we add. Once you're up to like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 items, it's like they get it. But you always want to introduce new vocabulary. We want to keep checking for understanding. Again, multiple communication partners, multiple settings, distance and persistence. We're going to continue to move the book, move the communication partner, and we're going to continue to practice that triangle. Here is a video of phase 3B. We're going to look for the correspondence checks. She does the 4-step analysis, 4-step error analysis. She does verbal praise, but she does not label the items.
You do labeled items when you go back, yeah?
When you go back, when you do the practice in the 4-step, so she just doesn't.
Okay, so now that your child has learned how to discriminate between a preferred item and a non-preferred, we're going to move on to learning to discriminate between 2 preferred items, so 2 items that they like. This is very similar to 3A, but the way we present it's a little bit different. So again, you're going to be within arm's reach of the child with the book facing them in between the 2 of you. But this time you're going to need, like I said, 2 preferred items, the pictures that go along with them, and some kind of tray or something to present to the child. So whichever picture Holly gives me, so she gave me the light up toy picture, I'm gonna say take it. If she reaches for the light up toy, I'm gonna let her take it and say light up toy, and then she gets to play with it. And again, I'm gonna move where the pictures are because she got it correct. This time, if she gives me a picture and reaches for, so she gave me the slinky picture, if she reaches for the light up toy, I'm not gonna let her take it. I'm going to put the picture back and do the same error correction. So I'm going to point to what she was reaching for and say, yeah, that's the light up toy. Match it, put it back in the same spot, flip the book over, and give her a chance to do it independently. So this time, if she does it correctly, she gave me the light up toy picture, I say take it. If she reached for the light up toy, she gets to take it, and I say light up toy. If she made 2 errors, we're going to do the same thing we did in phase 3A. So when we're flipping the book over after the second error, we're going to take the picture off that she didn't want and leave just the 1 picture. So I'm just going to show you what it would look like, the error correction procedure would look like without talking through it. So yeah, that's the slinky. Take it. Slinky! So overall, that's what it would look like. It looks like a lot at first, but once you learn it, you'll get really used to doing it, and it'll become easier.
When to move to phase 4. When they are able to exchange the preferred item, they're traveling to and from the book, they're doing distance and persistence, that's rearranged on the front page of their book, they are able to enter the book and take the preferred or non-preferred items out and put them on your hand. Again, we're not using any sentence strips yet, but now we are. So now we're going to start with some sentence structure and build.
Yeah, so phase 4 is sentence structure, so they're going to be able to travel, they're going to be able to discriminate, and now we're going to start with the simple sentence, I want. And then we'll go, there's 2 parts to this, we'll go into the attributes after this. So the student is going to learn to use a sentence starter, so I want, I see, it is. We usually start with I want because we always do that. That's the easiest one for them to understand and they get something, so it's highly motivating for them. All right. So the first step of phase 4 is they're going to manipulate the reinforcer picture only. So we're going to have our I want, and it's already going to be on the sentence strip. And then you're going to have your reinforcers on the outside. And then next they're going to manipulate the I want, and then we're going to introduce tap icons to get them to speak. So the first one is they're going to get the book. We're gonna get the book, sorry. We're gonna remove I want. Oh, sorry, this is them. So we want them to get the book, remove I want, and then get the I want on the sentence strip, put the reinforcer off. Then we're gonna want them to take it off, tap it, I want squishy ball, give it to you. That's gonna be the ideal sequence. Okay, so for phase 1, like I said, you're gonna have I want icon on the strip already. You're going to wait for the initiation. The student's going to remove the reinforcer from the picture. What they're going to do is, because they've only been working with one icon, they're obviously going to just go for the reinforcer and try to give it to you. So at this point, we're going to need to prompt them. So she's going to go for it, give it to me, and then we're going to have to prompt them to put it on here. Then we're going to have to prompt them to remove the entire strip, give it to me, and then you're going to give me the item and go, again, you're going to go, yes, and then you're going to read it to the student. So you're the student. Yeah. And then the communication partner is going to read it at the start. Again, we're going to give the reinforcer within a half-second rule. So as soon as you give them they give you the strip, then we're going to give them the reinforcer. Okay, let's try that. That was kind of messy. Okay.
It's hard standing.
I know, it's
we
hard.
We used to do this on Zoom. It was even harder.
Yeah. Okay, so you're going to be... Do you want me to... Yeah, so you entice me. So obviously I'm going to be the student. I'm going to grab the squishy ball because phase 1, 2, and 3, I've only been working with one icon. My automatic reaction is going to give it to her. She's going to detour me down. And then she's going to prompt me to take off the sentence strip. This is sometimes hard for kids to get off, so sometimes I just kind of like let it sit because it takes a lot of work for them to rip it off. Once I have it, she's going to prompt me to give it back, and then she's going to read it first and say, I want
squishy toy.
Does that make sense? Okay.
And eventually you do want them to tap the icons with you, but not quite there yet.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so that's step 1. So we want to make sure that they are able to, we arrange the I want. We appropriate and entice and initiate, physical prompt. Okay, yeah, we just went over that. Okay, so now you're going to manipulate the I want icon. So instead of having the I want icon on the sentence strip, you're going to put it in the left hand. You're going to keep it on this area so they know that it's going to be here. When the student reaches for the reinforcer, again, like what we usually do to put on the strip, you're going to block their hand and move it to I want, and then prompt them to do the reinforcer. Then the student's going to, again, hand over the sentence strip. You're going to read the sentence strip to the student, I want squishy ball, and then give them the requested item. You're going to move to step 3, and that's when they're able to do all of this on their own. Should we practice that? Sure. Okay, let's practice the first I want on the sentence strip. And you can have more than one preferred item on your book, or you can have it inside because they already should be going inside their book.
Okay, everyone good with steps 1 and 2? Yeah. Okay, and just make sure you're tapping the icons, because you want them to be able to affiliate the icon with the word. Yeah. And because you're teaching them, you want to make sure you're tapping the icons, because in the next step, they have to tap it themselves. So you're also teaching the tap with the correlation to the words. So when you take that sentence strip off, you want to make sure you are tapping the icons.
So in the first stage, 1 and 2 of 4, we tapped it for them and said, I want squishy ball. In third, so once they get that down, now we're gonna prompt them to tap it. We're still gonna be talking. We're gonna take them and say, I want squishy ball. Once they're able to do that by themselves, then we're gonna introduce a time delay. So they're gonna tap it automatically. I want, and then you're not gonna talk for 2 to 3 seconds to give them the chance to try to say squishy ball. Does that make sense?
Even if they're nonverbal. Like, we want to always promote language. We want to always promote the language, and the time delay just gives them the opportunity. Like, some kids might surprise us.
So the first one is you start with I want on the sentence strip. We're going to tap it out. I want squishy ball for the kid. The next is the I want is in the left corner of the book. We teach them to bring it down. Again, we're tapping them, I want squishy ball. The third step of 4 is we're going to take their hands. We're going to still talk and say, I want squishy ball. And then the fourth part of phase 4 is they're going to be able to tap alone because we've practiced this so much. And you're just going to say, I want, and then they're going to say, after 2 to 3 seconds, squishy ball. If they don't, then you say it for them. Like I said, never insist on speech, and you can use differential reinforcers. So obviously you can change them up. At this point, they should be going inside their book because once they're able to say it, they should be able to manipulate the I want from inside the book as well as reinforcers. And then, yeah. Was it this one? Did just do that one?
Phase 4, sentence structure. The communicator will look through the book, find the icon that she needs, and then exchange the sentence strip that is preloaded with I want.
So this is part 1 of stage 4.
Got some yummy chocolate today. So good. Oh, nice job. I want chocolate. Nice job. The communicator into each picture to say the sentence.
Any questions? It's just like they're breaking it up in simple steps.
I see here she's
Phase
verbal.
4.
Don't do don't do that.
This is the same people from
same
when I was
peeps.
like, don't do that.
Don't verbally entice. All right. Yeah, so we know to move to 3 after they're able to move the I want from the book to the sentence strip, give it to you, and then you talk. Number 3, we're going to physically prompt the learner to touch each picture while we're still saying the sentence. And then number 4, once they're able to touch the pictures themselves, then we're going to introduce the time delay, which is I want, and then 3 to 5 seconds for them to say the reinforcer. All right. Okay, so for correcting errors, obviously the kiddos can sometimes will do the like I want and then squishy ball, so it's not correct grammatical structure. This is okay for very young children. They might not be able to read from left to right, and they might not understand that. It's an issue if they're like a little older, so then you're going to have to continue to prompt them to put it in the correct order. Does that make sense? All right. And then, so if you added pictures to the front of the book, remember to start placing them back inside the book. Like I said, expand on traveling during stage 4. So again, we're going to want them to discriminate, travel, and then go into their book. They should be able to find their book and travel at least 6 feet. They're initiating communication with multiple communication partners. And you can use this skill within a variety of activities. So I was talking to the back table, you could use this during snack time, within the classroom to get their like favorite colored crayons, etc. Do you guys have any questions? All right. Again, like we said, we're not gonna say no to them. We're just gonna tell them it's not available. We can do this by covering up the page and just saying like that item's not available right now. Or you can use a token board so you can get them to work. And then once they reach their tokens, then they can get the thing that they requested. So like every other step, if the student's not learning, the step or is no longer accepting the reinforcer, we're either going to change up the reinforcers to make it more highly preferred. If they're still not getting it, then we're going to move back to phase 3. And like Ashley said, this is a pretty hard stage for some kids that are very low, so some kids might not actually get to stage 4.
And we said they say once you get to stage from 1 to 4, if you're at 4, we're going to start looking very deeply and heavily and fast to get an iPad. Because if you can do it here, and you can add attributes, why not get them talking faster? We have more technology now. That is coming from us, not necessarily pyramid, but they do say phases 1 to 4 mastered. Start looking into an AAC device. So we're going to learn to exchange I want for an attribute and an icon. So we're just going to keep expanding that language. So now we know we did correspondence checks. They know what they want. Now we're going to go deeper. Do they know what color Play-Doh they want? Do they know what size? Do they know what shape pretzel or cookie they want? Do they want a square cookie? Do they want a circle cookie? Again, a lot of the behaviors we see is because of they can't communicate. So the more we can communicate, the more detail we can give them, and the more requests we can answer, we hopefully start to see like the less and less behaviors. Because the kid could be requesting Play-Doh, he's really great at PEX, but he doesn't know his attributes, he doesn't know his colors, he's breaking down every time you give him the Play-Doh because he specifically wants red and it's not what he's been given. So we want to just keep trying things, and expanding language can definitely help us with that. We're going to do it with a 3-part sentence. I want, and then it's 4 words, but we know it's 3 icons. So they can now bring the I want strip down, they can bring the reinforcer down. We're going to try to add that attribute. So I want pink slime. Again, we're just expanding. To be at this phase, the student does not have to understand this vocabulary receptively. Sounds crazy, but again, we know that they don't all know their colors. They don't all know their shapes. This is where this comes into play of the teaching. We're teaching the language, and they're hopefully very receptive to it. So we're going to do preferred attribute with no discrimination. So we're going to start with holding one item, like a starburst, this pink starburst. So the student forms the sentence, I want starburst. Then we make the space between 2 icons and we say which one. So we give them 2 options, and on that sentence strip, we would literally make a space. Like we're going to move the starburst icon over, give it a gap, put up 2, pink and yellow, and we're going to say which one. And we're going to just do what we can to match. This is a yellow starburst, this is a pink starburst, and we're going to have them, even if it takes prompting, bring that pink down to the strip. So they say, they bring it down, they know how to do this already. I want squishy toy. You're going to move squishy toy over, and you're going to say which one.
Yeah, which one?
And so I've got a red and a yellow, and again, we're doing it with 1. Sorry, I think I said 2 earlier. So right now we're starting with just one color. We don't have the yellow up there. That's why we have the no discrimination. So you might have to prompt, but typically, I mean, kid gets this far, they're gonna kind of get it at this point. I want red squishy toy. I take the sentence strips off. I tap it, and she says,
we're hoping that you say it at that point.
I want red squishy toy, or red starburst.
And then we take it.
Yeah. And this is where the correspondence checks comes in too, because
if they're grabbing the yellow,
they're grabbing the yellow. Yes, then we're taking a moment. We're going to teach this is red. This is the red starburst. Red. Look, red. Do whatever you can to teach that this correlates to this. That this is the red one.
So do you want to do it one more time?
Yep. And because if they're not getting this and they don't figure that out, then they're not going to be able to do it with discrimination.
So you're going to do
without.
it.
So I would say I want starburst.
Which one?
And I say.
Yeah, and then I'm going to obviously have to model it for.
Yep. I want red starburst.
Take it.
And I take it.
Make sense? Okay.
So again, if I grab the yellow, you do, you teach. You teach the color. You teach the correlation.
You would do, the 4-step error correction. All right. Do you want to go over that one?
Do you guys want to practice that one? I think or we'll do it with discrimination too, and then we'll practice them at the same time.
Okay.
Okay, so preferred first, non-preferred attributes will begin to teach using 4-step error correction. Now you'll use 2 items with different attributes. So we know they want a cookie, we're going to try a circle, and we're going to try a rectangle. So we're introducing discrimination. Before we just had 1. And this is a good one too to do if you just have 1, because then that correspondence check there's a circle, they keep reaching for the square, we know it's only a circle, so we have to teach that that's the shape of the circle. Do they want the chocolate square rectangle or the frosted round? One preferred and one non-preferred. And then again, if with this one, if they are not getting it, you do that 4-step error correction. So they've got the sentence down there, I want biscuit, you move it over, you know they're reaching for that circle, they want the circle cookie, and they keep putting the rectangle down. You're gonna do the 4-step error correction. You're gonna put it back up, you're gonna cover up the rectangle, you're gonna point to the circle, they're gonna hand you the circle, and you say, yep, circle cookie. Distract, practice, do it again. They get it wrong, you model, you distract, you practice. So why don't we now practice both of those steps? Prefer non-discriminatory and then one with discriminatory.
Yeah,
So-
you guys all have attributes and preferred. I'll give you some candy.
Yeah, so we'll start with just one attribute and one icon. Attribute, adverb, whatever grammatical marker you want to use. You can do really anything, but we're just trying to teach them that sentence structure. And then, so if you're doing the 4-step error procedure and they're just not getting it, they're not getting it, you just go back. We got to teach the process. You go back to one attribute icon, you do the back step, just the one, and you match it, and you can teach it. Or change the type of attribute, change that adjective, like maybe this colors isn't working, maybe we want the amount, because you can do anything. You could do, I want 3 stars. You got 3 stars, you could do, if they're good with numbers, if they're good with shapes, you could change it up. Obviously just be creative, and we're teaching the process. Begin preferred versus preferred attributes and conducting correspondence checks. We just did that because even if they don't, they want Starburst. Even if they don't want the red one, we could use that. That could be highly preferred. It's the same thing, the 4-step error analysis, and you want to just make sure you're looking at their eye contact, their hand, their reach. You're teaching the reach, and you want to do it immediately. And don't forget with the sentence strip, even with the attribute, you want to give that time delay. You could do it with just the noun, like I want pink, and try to get them to say Skittle. If they don't, they don't. If they're nonverbal, they don't. But we still want to give them the opportunity for speech. And then we're going to begin to add more attributes and reinforcers to the book. And you can, again, place them on the front page as you're practicing it. Like if in that day or that moment, that's what you're teaching, let's work on attributes. That's what you're teaching. You're going to put them on the front. We were talking a lot about goals. And so we just have to remember it's a year-long goal. So someone had asked, would the goal be we'll master phase 1? And I was like, well, no, because that could be affiliated with pyramid. So we don't want to be that specific. And as we know, with our speech goals, it's the same thing. We just want to be very vague. We want to be very in general. It's a year-long goal. So even my tissue kid, who's been taking years to learn that the icon means I get a tissue, it's the same. It's a very general goal. We'll use low-tech communication system to request for functional communication modalities, it's something like that. Or even, if we know that a lot of kids won't even get to the I want stage, but if you even have a thought that they could, write we'll use low tech to request items with a sentence starter, I want, I need, I see. And then we obviously work on objectives, we scaffold. So we don't want to write too specific of a goal. We want to keep it super big. Fidelity check, they are identifying multiple reinforcers, 3 to 4 part sentences, multiple communication partners, that distance and persistence. Are they traveling to the book to explain that they want the blue man, not the red squiggly man? Are they reinforcing the behavior within half a second? We can praise them. We're teaching correct discrimination. And that says 3-step, we all know it's 4, my bad. And are we conducting the error correction for incorrect sequences? So then when to move to phase 5, when the student independently constructs and exchanges the sentence strip. So if they're doing it in 9 out of 10 opportunities, are they tapping the picture while the communication partner reads the sentence strip, or they read it, which would be lovely. And then are they getting their book and traveling to the communication partner to explain their actual wants?
Okay, just a recap. So what we learned was phase 1 was they were just using one icon. Phase 2, travel was very important. Phase 3 was discrimination. So they were They have to be able to discriminate between a preferred and non-preferred, and then a preferred and a preferred. Phase 4 was the sentence structure, so now they're using the I want and an attribute. And now it's phase 5. So up till phase 1 to 4, they were just requesting preferred items, and now phase 5 is answering a what do you want. So this is when we can actually ask them, what do you want? So for phase 5, we're going to teach answering what do you want. We're going to set up our environment and get our reinforcers, our PECs, the books will be there. Ask our student, what do you want? The ideal outcome is the student will answer the question with a full sentence. So I want purple Skittle. The initial prompt the correct response by pointing to the I want icon immediately after asking. You might have to do this a few times, and then time delay. So we're always going to do the time delay to see if they will verbalize the sentence I want. And then we're going to do the progressive time delay, and that is when you use the 3 to 5 seconds. So when we have the book, they're gonna have their book, and we want them to ideally say, what do you want? They're gonna get their book out and tell you from their book what they want. So it's not gonna be right in front of them. We're not gonna be enticing them. We want them to do it on their own. Do you have any questions? Oh, there's a phase 5.
Okay, and this is phase 5. Answering what do you want question. This is the only time that a question is asked as a verbal prompt. Oh, hi, Jess. What do you want? Oh, I want to read a book. Here you go. Nice job.
Once they get that down, then they have a really good understanding. They can answer questions, and then we're going to move to phase 6, and this is commenting. So once they're able to do that, we're hoping that they're going to pick up their book, and then you can ask them throughout the day, what do you want? And they can give you different options, whether it's food, whether they want a break, etc. And then commenting is going to be the last phase, because that's the hardest phase. They're not getting anything. When you give them the icon, when they give you the icon, they're just trying to simply communicate with you. So the commenting phase is going to bring in the I see, I hear, I smell, those sentence starters. So it occurs in the response to something interesting. So you can see, hear, smell, touch in the environment and result in social reinforcement. So that's when you're going to try to communicate with them like, oh yeah, you're right, I do smell the tree, etc. And like I said, 1 to 5 was just requesting, so now we're commenting. And this is when you can get the, you can start commenting by like doing the activities like brown bear. What do you see? I see a brown bear. What do you see? Things like that.
And social interactions, we know like a lot of the kids using these are autism, or have autism, or are students with autism, whatever the, and so social reinforcements are just not, they could care less. They could care less if you're like, yay, a lot of the time. So we're also trying to teach that, so that's a good teaching opportunity too, like that social interactions and social reinforcements, like even like the slightest smile, like that's a good thing, you know, so that it's a good teaching moment. And sometimes this is really, really hard to teach them this phase, because sometimes even if you teach and teach and teach, they still don't care about social reinforcement. So that's why we use things like this, because it's very, very, very concrete, and social reinforcement is obviously super abstract.
A question for you about that last slide. The brown bear, and all the pictures that go with it, you know, you just kind of read it to them. Can you, like, skip phases to do an activity like that?
Yes.
I have done that, yeah, multiple times, because it's easy, because it's almost kind of like matching. For like,
you say it and they say it, modeling. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or even like in phase 4 where you're trying to teach like attributes and such, and you're like, I don't know if they know their colors or their animals, or like the farther ones, it could be a good lesson. It could, like, you might not even be doing PECs. I mean, this is just a good lesson.
Yeah.
And you're matching colors and you're matching the animals. And you can incorporate it in and hopefully make it fun, because you did one like this with the Proloquo. The polar bear?
Straight ahead a lot, and then I was doing
One of the Eric Carle ones.
Yes.
Right?
The red horse?
I can do
Yeah.
I can do
Yeah.
It was the same things.
Yeah.
Over and over
You
again.
could, it's the same, yeah, same, similar scenario.
I Okay, so how can we teach commenting? You're going to manipulate the environment. So ask your student, what do you hear, what do you see, what do you smell? So this is when you're going to bring your book outside of the classroom, on walks, to and from the therapy room. You can do surprise mystery boxes. So, you know, get them to open, what did you see? I see a blue tissue. Or a photo album, go on walks, like, oh, I see a green tree, what do you see? I see a green bush. You can do that through books, watching movies, airplanes in the sky, that'd be a hard one. What do you hear? I hear an airplane. And again, like, you're gonna have all these PECs set up. So that's the hard part of it. You're gonna have to prep for that.
And which is also just like the phase 6, it's like, okay, we should be moving towards an iPad at this point. Much faster communication, everything is right there with you. But again, the tangibleness of this is a way better way to teach it. That the icon means communication.
Okay.
Oh, this is just an example for like when you hear the plane, you would say, I hear, have the I hear icon ready. What do you hear? This is because, again, in this phase, you can ask a question. So you can say, what do you want? What do you see? What do you hear? They don't need to come up with it on their own. Again, with students with autism, it's definitely very difficult because social settings and social, it's a social reinforcement to go, I hear an airplane. Everyone's like, yeah, that's an airplane. Kids with autism, sometimes that's very difficult. So commenting is very difficult. It's a hard phase because it's all about social interaction, but the airplane is hard, but it also, if any little one walking around is like, Mommy, an airplane. So even if you have other kids with you and then you're like, what did he hear? What did he hear? He heard I hear an airplane, but.
Yeah, so they want you just to introduce the one sentence starter, so start with I see, and then start with I hear, and then start with I smell. And then once they get all of those senses, then you can ask them multiple questions, like using all of them.
A hierarchy for which one to start with, the I see, I hear, or is it whichever?
They're all senses. Okay. So and then especially like adaptability, like it's a deaf kid. But like I want is definitely the first, but we already did that. We've already done
I want's the easiest because I get something in right for it.
I think I don't know. I was gonna say I think I see is easier because you could just be like right here. You don't have to go outside. You don't have to hear a big airplane or train, or you could play something on your phone. What do you hear? I hear a frog.
Yeah, and then even with they're again talking about the 4-step error correction. So say we're doing the brown bear book, and you say, what do you see? And they say, I see a purple bear. Then you're gonna do the 4-step error correction, and then see if they can do it again. Any questions?
We did all 6 phases. Woo! But do you see how like phase 5 and 6 are they're definitely way more advanced. So we're gonna go through and do all 6.
Yeah.
Together, like in a group. We're just gonna start with 1, practice that, accomplish that. Just remember that phase 1, we do backstepping. Phase 2, we do backstepping. And then phase 3 is when we start introducing the 4-step error analysis for the correction procedures. And then so phase 1, we obviously are just teaching the reach and teaching the request with an icon. Phase 2 is distance and persistence, and we're introducing the book. Phase 3 is discrimination. Phase 4 is adding sentence structure and additional grammar words. And then phase 5 is answering questions, and phase 6 is commenting. So through all of these, they should, other than answering a question, they should definitely be initiating. Like we just want to really practice on not opening your hand right away and wait until they give it reach to you.
And again, like it's key to have multiple communication partners.
Yes.
Because they're not going to carry it over if they just only do it with the speech language pathologist.
Okay, so we'll do it.
Let's do
Phase
it.
1. Welcome to